Hello, you have a prepaid call from
Keith Jesperson,
Bruce Davis,
Patton Clark, Robert Barno.
What's your friend?
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of The Lighter Side of Serial Killers. I am your host, Keith Rovere. This is our third episode as far as the video podcast. The audio podcast has been out for a while. Now go check out Spotify or Amazon Music or iTunes, whatever your favorite hosting network is, to check out the audio podcast. We've been at that for a while, but this is episode number 3. Today we're going to be talking to someone who I've known for maybe 5 or 6 years now, Dana Gray, a serial offender. You've probably seen documentaries about her, movies made about her. She's been locked up for many years now, decades, in fact. I talk to her in one form or another almost every day for years now. It's amazing to see her growth. Today we're going to be talking about a very touchy topic, very controversial, life without parole, or LWOP, the acronym for it. You hear that spoken about, or life without the possibility of parole. We're going to be getting into conversations some might find, I would say, uncomfortable, but definitely a hot button topic. If you're somebody who is on death row or serving life without parole, you certainly want that amended to at least to the possibility of parole, get commuted to at least to that. But if you're a victim, or you're a friend or family member, you might have lost somebody to a violent offense, and you certainly don't want that person ever out. So again, it's a very touchy topic with different prison facilities. But we'll see that America is one of the few countries in the world that has the option of life without parole or the other death sentence. It just takes a little longer, basically. So we'll be talking about that with her. So it's going to be very interesting. Most of these videos from prison facilities, one, it's great that they even have the option to have a video chat with these men and women. Phone calls can be, shady a little bit. At least with the audio, I can jazz it up a little bit. Video call, it came out pretty good, actually. The video quality to this, it goes in and out once in a while, but nothing too bad. Everything is pretty much still intact. So I hope you enjoy our chat. So without further ado, let's hear from Dana Gray.
Okay.
You're obviously calling from a facility in California, in Chowchilla.
Yes.
Under a sentence, as we're going to be talking about today, of life without the possibility of parole. That's what we're going to be talking about. Is it humane? Is it not humane? What comes to mind initially when you hear anybody mention life without the possibility of parole? What emotions come to your mind, and what are your instant thoughts when you hear that phrase?
That I'm discarded. I'm a throwaway, and I'd matter less than somebody on death row, and I'm at the bottom. I'm at the bottom of the totem pole, and we're really kind of like the Walking Dead. It's a living death sentence. Yeah. It really is.
That's the nickname for it, right? The other death sentence. It's still a death sentence, and it makes sense. And we're talking.
It is a death sentence.
We were just talking on the phone yesterday, FL. We're one of the few countries that even have that without the possibility of parole. And we look at the United Nations, as they call it, inhumane. And due to some kind of loophole ratification thing, we can't adhere to that. We're not, bound by that. But the European Court of Human Rights said it's cruel and degrading punishment, life without the possibility of parole. And when you look at other countries like England and Wales, their life sentence is 15 years eligible for parole. France, 18 to 22 years. Germany, 15 years. Denmark, 12 years, and so on and so forth. We're one of the few countries to even have this. I mean, the whole world looks at us with this thing as literally inhumane. Now, we're not talking certainly about mentally ill and those, probably shouldn't get out. We're talking about the eligibility for parole. In your personal experience, at your facility over the years you've been there, specifically the women. We don't really get into the men, but specifically the women. Have you known women, or even know women now, under the same life without parole sentence, that if they had a parole hearing and it was honest and fair, they clearly will be, let go, like rehabilitated, let go. So have you known women, and still do, who were, if they were up for parole today, that they probably would be, deemed fit for society and going back out into the world?
Yes, I do. I know a few. I'm in the bachelor's program with two of them that are in my unit.
Oh, okay.
And we've worked really, really hard on our rehabilitation the entire time we've been here. And people go, well, why? You're not going anywhere. Because we have to be ready. I'm not going to get ready. I want to be ready in case that little pinhole of light ever comes.
Yeah.
And what if we are interviewed? I'm just not going to live my life like I'm dying. But I'll tell you, nihilism is real. It's real.
Yeah.
Hopelessness really creeps in there, and you have to suck it up and keep going.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah.
know how many groups I facilitate, and despite my disabilities and all my surgeries, major surgeries, I get up and go.
Yeah.
Did I tell you yesterday? I was really upset that the breast cancer drive was handled poorly, and not everybody got to donate their little $5 and get their pin. So I talked to the ombudsman about it, and she said, well, what about the other units? And so I, in my little wheelchair, went down to the other units and got signatures and talked to people, and I got a paper with the signatures, and $5 a piece represented $295 in missed donations. And that probably doesn't sound like a lot to people out there, but we're in prison, and we don't have money. We work for like as low as 8 cents an hour. So for somebody to come up with $5, a serious medical condition that affects women is a big deal. We see breast cancer here too.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And you mentioned, as far as rehabilitation goes, and life without parole, what, I mean, from your personal life experiences and the experiences of the women that you've lived with for all these years, has there been a specific program, or maybe somebody who's listening now has a loved one there, that you can encourage them? What programs have you seen, whether it's counseling, teaching, schooling? What has seemed to help the most in all the women you've known, and even in your personal life over the years, as far as helping out?
Well, it depends on what people are here for, and their level of where they're at. Are they still so consumed with just basic survival, or are they looking for help? So if you're a new lifer, I would suggest the basic programs like NAAA. Maybe go to a boundaries class, maybe go to victim impact or something like that. Now, the group I do is hard. It's denial management, but it's denial management on steroids, because I cover a lot of things. I make people write their crime out, their crime statement, and I want to know what got them here. Childhood things, what character defects. We have a big character defect thing on the wall, like low self-esteem, needing to control others, feeling unworthy, unhealthy relationships. And so we talk about their childhood, the kind of trauma they went through, and what was happening right before their crime, and what made them make that choice. And it's really hard. Nobody wants to do this. When people drop, and it's like pulling teeth to get them to write it out. But I read mine, and mine's ugly, and they're shocked. But I'm very truthful in the experiences that I went through as a kid and how I developed those denial patterns, because you can't find out the insight of your crime and what caused you to make that choice unless you look at denial. So once we get that story, then we go around in a group and reread it. And we've already gone through the basic denial patterns like manipulation, absolute denial, entitlement. And we look for the patterns. So everybody listens and you can see them. And then at the end, because when you're reading that story, you're just so nervous you can't even
Can
hear
imagine.
what's going on. You can't see the patterns. I mean, you're so shocked at what you've done, and you're admitting this and talking about painful things like rape, abuse, just crazy stuff out there, being beat.
Yeah.
So what we talk about it at the end, and we can, like, I'll say, what I see is this, and this were manipulation. And when you made this choice, I see you carrying this forward. And then we look at post conviction denial patterns as well, because after you've committed your crime, there's an amount of denial because you're in shock or your headspace is just really bad. So we look at post conviction denial as well. And then through the class, we all share, and when you're listening to somebody else, you find out things about yourself. And so I do all this work to lead people to the end to make a relapse prevention plan based on their individual denial patterns. And it's powerful. And when we're done, people feel very empowered. And I teach them, I said, now, every day, when you're out there and you are acting in that same denial pattern, once we've talked about it, you can't unknow that. You can't unknow that character defect about yourself. And so it's just very powerful. And then eventually I will try to get some kind of group for those people to talk about even farther post conviction. But I'm trying to prepare them so when they're interviewed, they just don't go in there and say, oh, I take responsibility. That's not enough. You need to know why you did that. You need to own your stuff. And so that's what I'm preparing them to do. And every time I teach this group, it helps me too.
Definitely.
It helps me. Yeah, I grow with them too. And I always share my stuff because I want to be a part of their journey.
Yeah.
Did you see the little countdown thing?
Yeah. Yeah. You can call me back.
We've got like 40 seconds, so I'll have to call you back.
Yeah.
But well, I will in about 30 seconds. But so it's rough. I mean, I've had people earlier in their time, later in their time. I've had child cases, and the term baby killers, all kinds of different cases, kidnappings, just amazing things. Let me call you right back.
Okay.
So when I say amazing things that I hear in group, it's amazing to me the things that people do, including myself. The amazing, like, wow, you did that, and where was your mind at? These are things that when you go to mental health in the free world, these are the things you should be looking at to keep people from committing crimes.
For sure.
They need to look and have people write stuff up and talk about denial and really have them dig, not just sit there and we'll talk about your childhood and how I was raped or molested or locked in a closet and do nothing with it. So you open those wounds and you leave somebody raw, and then they go out and commit crimes. So, okay, the thingy cut off for a minute.
Gotcha.
Anyway, is there
That's good.
anything else you wanted to know about that in group wise?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. I mean, when you have
There's a lot of groups here.
oh, that's wonderful.
There's
You had said something important.
battered women's, that gang groups. Pardon?
I say it said something important too. I want to bring up. I mean, you have a couple of categories, I guess, of women that are there. It seems to be a very low percentage of women who are violent offenders out of their own free will, so to speak. It seems to be a lot of the research and data I've seen, like two categories. One, women who are on serving life without parole were not the trigger man, so to speak. They're with somebody, usually a husband or a boyfriend, whether they're the lookout person, driving the car, or something like that. But they're getting the same sentence as the person who actually pulled the trigger or did the violent offense. And it seems to be a lot of the evidence in court when they're severely abused, an abusive husband, abusive boyfriend, forcing them to come along for something. Or the other one would be they did do the violent offense, but they were in such an abusive relationship, beating to almost death over and over again, and it kind of like finally stood up for themselves and did a violent offense against their abuser. But a lot of that's not introduced in court. A lot of that's not allowed in court, whether it's sentencing or prostitutes fighting for their life, with a guy who just went crazy on them, shooting them or killing them. But a lot of times the evidence isn't brought out in court. A life of pure abuse, finally standing up for themselves, committing the offense, but now they're doing life without parole, or LWOP as it's known for. Do you see that a lot in your facility too, where they wouldn't have normally done this, but extreme
Yes.
circumstances with abuse? Can you talk about that and your friendships with people you've known over the years and how horrible that is?
Okay, so you asked me if I see people with extreme abuse. Yes, I do. But the thing that is, not every case is extreme abuse.
Mhm.
Some is subtle abuse over time,
Yeah.
where people are torn down mentally,
Sure.
and by the time they become adults, they have such low self-esteem and are worthless that um, they commit crimes without with I don't know how to say. I don't want to say without thinking, but they just don't.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it! They just don't have the mental facility to make better choices.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds weak, but when somebody's in a mindset like that, they do make stupid choices.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
They are just extreme short-term thinking,
Mm-hmm.
and it's impulsivity.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Me too. I was very impulsive.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't together at all. I
Mm-hmm.
had gone through extreme stress,
Mm-hmm.
and then what's really not taken into consideration either is, what are they on? Are they drunk? Are they on
Yeah.
prescription drugs? Are they on illegal drugs? Are they on antidepressants like
Yeah.
me? And I do not in any way blame my crime on the antidepressants,
Mm-hmm.
but it was a contributing factor
Yeah.
in my case. I was already messed up.
Yeah. And the courts, a lot of times,
Extreme denial
what
patterns.
I'm finding, a lot of times the court is not taking this into
And so,
consideration. They're sentencing just like you would somebody who just lost their mind. Instead of listening, look at this person's background, their history. You're not saying let them go, but at least in sentencing, maybe a choice instead of life without the possibility of parole. They're giving them the same sentence without taking the fact their past, especially if they have abusive past. It's sad, really.
well, here's the thing. I don't care what people have done. They deserve a chance
Mm-hmm.
to be heard by a board of parole,
Yeah.
and measure how deep is their rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
A CDCR should just drop the R. If you're not
Yeah.
offering everybody a chance to show their rehabilitation
Mm-hmm.
and a chance to go before a board to see if you're a danger to society or
Yeah.
not,
Mm-hmm.
it's just not fair.
Yeah.
It just really isn't fair. You might as well have given them the death penalty.
Yeah.
And speaking of the death penalty, you know, the governor has taken the death penalty moratorium off,
Yeah.
right,
Mm-hmm.
in California.
Yep.
So what he's done in the women's prisons is he's let them out. They're living with us.
Yeah.
I have a death penalty inmate across the hall from me,
Yeah.
and she's after 18 years in death row, and she's starting to take groups, starting to integrate into her real life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting to watch her, and I talk to her a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, you let them out.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing for LWOPs?
Yeah.
If you're going to take death row into general population,
Mm-hmm.
you should commute the LWOPs. Just give them life with.
Yeah.
Commute us all
Mm-hmm.
and let us go before board.
Yeah.
You're not letting us out
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
by any means,
Yeah.
but at least give us a chance.
And that,
Or better yet, start with the LWOPs like myself, who've done over 25 years,
yeah, that's what I was
and
just
we're
gonna say.
55 and over.
Yeah.
I believe there's less than 25 of us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't this.
That's
I
good.
believe there's less than 25 of us.
Mhm.
as far as done 25 years and over that are under 55, maybe 50, maybe 30.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact number
Well, this is
because
I
it's
was looking.
personal information,
I was looking into
I
that,
don't have.
and I this is what I found on that. Couldn't not specifically for California, but across the nation. When we look at, and let me step back a little bit. When I'll bring men into a little bit, the average age for a man to commit a violent crime is like 18 years old to about 30, give or take. Average age for a woman, a little bit older, 25 to 35 to 40. For both, when they hit about 50 years old, the odds that they're going to do a violent offense drop significantly, like very, very, very low. They even did a recent study: 1,000 men who were let out who committed violent offenses. 1,000 men who are over 50 or 55, only 5 reoffended out of 1,000. So it's beyond data that says if you're over 55, the odds you're going to reoffend in general or just do any violent offense is very low. Now, for this situation, for women, what was it? Over 44%. Yeah, the average woman serving on life without parole, average age is 55 years old across America. So 44% of the women on life without parole are 55. And that number has actually tripled since 2020. Oh no, it's the year 2000. So just stats alone would say someone who's been doing, a couple of decades in prison is 55 or older. Just statistics alone, that's without counseling. That's without the classes that you were mentioning. The odds that reoffend are so drastically low, it just makes sense. I mean, just perfect sense. The odds, the statistics are there. It's just baffling, but especially at that age group, normally in life, the odds that they're going to start or start offending by their own, or let alone after counseling and all these years to think about it, get away from the bad seeds. It seems very highly unlikely, and let alone with $70,000 per to house somebody there in California alone. All the money you would save, probably not going to be a threat to society. But we're just asking for the option for parole to be heard. I mean, it just makes no sense. It makes all the logical sense in the world with statistics to offer that. It's just mind blowing there. Just mind blowing. Mm-hmm.
Women reoffend less than men.
Oh yeah, drastically
And the
less.
lifers that have been let out, yeah, we as lifers reoffend even less.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll look at it statistically. There's 33 prisons.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's still 33, and only 2 are women. So statistically, men crime is much higher.
Yeah.
So we recidivate less.
Mm-hmm.
And as you were saying, $70,000, that's just basic maintenance.
Yeah.
Then you think of older people like myself.
I was just going to mention medical care
I've
and
had
everything
major medical.
Mm-hmm.
Much more expensive to maintain. I've had 2 major back surgeries, one just in March, with 3 procedures.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fused from L1 to S1 now, and I saw an orthopedic surgeon yesterday to get a total knee replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 66. And for being 66, I'm in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
It's just that I have orthopedic problems,
Yeah.
old injuries. I have a leg length discrepancy that's screwed up my back
Mm-hmm.
and has damaged my knee.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you add up all that cost plus the daily medical things that I go through, appointments, lab, being on cholesterol meds, that all adds up.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
very expensive.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what those back surgeries were.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we age, a lot of us lifers, there's been like 3 or 4 knee surgeries. We're walking on concrete.
Oh.
We live on concrete. There is no carpeting.
Mm-hmm.
I put my yoga mat in my bed area just to keep, just to walk on it because it's such a relief off my knee.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's ridiculous to have to walk on a yoga mat in your little bed area.
Yeah.
But we do what we've got to do.
Yeah.
And we stretch, we do exercise as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
But still, maintenance is costly.
Oh yeah.
So
I was reading another article. It really opened my eyes. It was talking about justification for punishment are either, and we talked a little bit about this on the phone, I believe, either forward thinking in justification for sentencing or backward thinking. Backward thinking is focusing on the crime. Punish, 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 punish. Forward thinking is rehabilitation. Let's look for the future, for getting on parole or encouraging people like yourself in there, helping other women out. But one of the reasonings for backward thinking or punishment is we want to punish them so severely that other people will look in and say, "Ooh, I'm not going to do a crime because of the punishment I might get." But I mean, you can maybe speak on this to yourself, but I would think there's levels of psychopathy, of course. We're not deterred by fear, but with the very mentally, challenged. Aside from that, I think most people, in the heat of a crime, they're not thinking of statistics. When your mind is that rattled and you're doing about to a violent offense, you're not taking pause to think, let's see what kind of trouble I might get in. You're not thinking of that. So you might deter some people, of course, but the American prison system is so focused on punish. Now, some people who might, rob a bank or rob a house is going to be housed with some, especially in the male facilities, extreme violent offenders, multiple offenders, serial offenders. You're in the same facility. Sometimes you're sharing a cell with somebody who's jacked a couple cars, got caught with an ounce of weed. So if it's just punishment minded without rehabilitation, well, that guy's not going to come out the same. A simple car thief or guy who got busted for a little pot, he's going to come out a lot worse in those punishment facilities. But the forward thinking, which I love California, because especially your facility has so much to offer for rehabilitation, it gives them a chance. So one of my platforms is pushing a
Yeah.
reward-based positive system is because not everybody's going to come in. You're getting treated equally. Equally is bad. Punish them equally across the board. Harsh, 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 harsh. And they wonder why there's a 70% chance they're going to reoffend when they get out, in these punishment-minded style prisons. It just doesn't make any logical sense. I mean, your proof, and just from California itself, is one of the better jobs in America. That, yes, forward-thinking, training, teaching, schooling, education, counseling, medicine is proof that it does work. And the facilities that do that have the lowest recidivism rates. The highest ones that don't focus on it at all, the lowest recidivism rates. The one that punishment-minded has the highest recidivism rates. And I said, you're proving it just by what you said. The awesome programs that you have is the more forward thinking is the way to go. I think that eventually eliminating life without parole
Right.
is hopefully the final outcome. Mm-hmm.
The punitive disciplinary things that you're talking about, like the crime, that doesn't work. Nobody thinks about LWOP. Nobody thinks about really a life sentence. They just go out and they do their crime. And when people are sentenced, I see many women come in and they're shocked. They're in disbelief that they have caught a life sentence.
Yeah.
And so we have to work through that. Then we get you into ownership of your crime and then help you heal from there. And then once you've got a level of healing, which you're going to be in recovery for the rest of your life, then we can address your crime.
Yeah.
So out there, the system does not work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. And women are disproportionately sentenced harsher than men, statistically. So why is that? What I just don't understand. Why is that?
Yeah, that's the question.
But like I said, everybody deserves the chance to be reviewed. You there? You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, the punishment thing. We're punished every day, and I want people to know. I can only speak for myself, of course, but no system, no officer, no court, no external force can punish me any more than I've punished myself. And many women in here, we beat ourselves up.
Yeah.
We do. It's a very few that are in such denial that they don't take any responsibility. But I'm telling you, in the groups I've done, in the groups I've taught, women are very genuine, and we've led broken lives, and nothing. I'm not trying to make an excuse. I'm just telling you the backgrounds that we come from, and why I'm speaking for women only is because I'm tired of being in the shadow of the men. Let me tell you a story. They've done a lot of good stuff for LWAPs as far as advocacy and coming here and showing us what the governor's office wants as far as commutations and encouraging us to do a good program for that 1 day. And they had us broken up into tables with representatives from the governor's office. And the table I was at was one of the ladies that did legislature for him. And I asked her, I said, why is it that we're not looked at? Well, is the governor going to look at those of us that are old, that have done over 25 years? There's so few of us. Can he please look at us and interview us and see if we're worthy despite our crimes? We've done 25 years and over. This coming up March 16th will be 30 years since I've been arrested. And I've spent 25 in prison, and just over 25. The lady answered me, she said, well, there's more men. So what she's saying in essence is his focus is on the men. He doesn't even look at us.
Yeah.
Commutations, but not at the rate it should be. And I feel like, there's a lot of things that have been granted for men, all the transgender stuff. You've put a focus on that and made a law and brought them here. And okay, you're transgender, all right. But what you've also brought here is gender pretenders and guys that can manipulate the system. Power over us. You've given them more rights than us. They can come in and say, I want that room and I don't like these roommates, get out. What kind of shit is that? We can't do that. So again, women are in the shadows. We're again powerless, and we're really working hard to overcome that. I've been one of the few that have. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I've been one of the few that's actually worked hard to work on some kind of integration, and I'll tell you, out of all of them I've met, only 3 are real. And one of them that's in my unit, one got kicked out for putting hands on me, and the other one that's in here is doing a great program. A great program. And so all of us feel safe. But what I'm saying is you've given them this without looking at LWAPs. You've taken death row and taken them out of thing. But what do? We keep going forward. We keep running those groups. From what I understand, CDCR has $10 million for rehabilitation. I don't even know if that's a year, but there's people here. We make 8 cents an hour. I don't make anything. I exist on the generosity of others, and I eat my state issue food and wear my state clothing, and I skim by and whatever. And what? I go to college. I try to maintain myself with a major disability, 2 major disabilities, my back and my knee. And I still get up and go teach a group and go help others. When I can go, I go to ACA. Yet, like I told you yesterday, I went around in the other units to encourage people to support breast cancer awareness because it's a women's issue. So my focus is women. We're just this small population, and I don't understand why we're not looked at. From what I understand, a lady quit the governor's office because there was so little focus on us. So I ask you, Governor Newsom, please help us. Help us. And I'm one that's filed a lot of paperwork, and I know I'm a pain in the ass. I had to file 2 federal lawsuits to get my back done for both surgeries, over 10 years. But a transgender can slide in here in less than 2 years, get laser surgery, facial reconstruction, gender affirming surgery. That is not major medical. And I'm not saying don't get it, but wait your turn.
Yeah, be fair.
Get in line. because there's some of us that really need that surgery.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to do that, why don't you look at us and save some money? Let us go.
Mhm.
Interview us. Look at us. Just
Yeah.
look at us too.
Mhm. No,
So
definitely.
I can speak, I think, freely for women that we feel discarded.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
We really do. And marginalized,
Mhm.
very marginalized.
Yeah.
And it's no different than the 1700s when the law for colonialism was coverture.
Mhm.
And coverture gave men the power over women. And
Mhm.
really, we still have an element of coverture today,
Yeah.
unequal pay out there. And,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever be equal,
Yeah.
but at least give us a chance to work, to show who we are.
Mhm.
Um,
And another
if I
thing
was
too.
given a job out there, I would work for the police or the governor. You want to
Mhm.
monitor me? Please do.
Yeah.
But I'm
Mhm.
good at what I do and I
Yeah.
can advocate and
Mhm.
you can put me out there and somebody to go to troubled areas for women, go to jails,
Mhm.
go to wherever and run these groups and help people. That's my passion.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
want to stop somebody from doing what I did.
Yeah. Definitely.
And it
Mhm.
makes me emotional to this day.
Mhm.
It really does.
Yeah.
I can't tell I can't tell anyone
Mhm.
how deeply how deeply sorry I am
Mhm.
for my actions.
Yeah.
And to think, oh, she's callous, she's been in there. No,
Yeah. Mhm.
it weighs on me. It weighs on me. And the only thing I can do is pay it forward.
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's why I do what I do. And
Okay.
there are others. There are others out there um,
Mhm.
advocating, doing what they can,
Mhm.
taking time to sit in the day room with someone that doesn't understand or is getting in a fight and they prevent violence in here.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
I can see the women that are LWAPs that I've done time with
Mhm.
now and the women that have been commuted that are out there advocating and coming back into prison to help us.
Mhm.
They're awesome. They're the
Yeah.
most awesome people I've ever met.
That's good to come back. Wow. That's really good.
Really,
That's encouraging to
really,
hear. Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, do.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of them come back. Oh, and two of them that were in this unit with me,
Mhm.
helping me build the law library, helping
Yeah.
me um, facilitate in CODA,
Mhm.
Codependency Anonymous.
Mhm.
And they really helped me. Then they went amazing.
Mhm. Wow. Definitely amazing. Definitely amazing.
So, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think we covered a lot. I mean, definitely covered everything that I want to bring up to you. And you answered kind of some of the other questions I was going to ask. We kind of covered that of, what would you be doing if you were paroled? You're obviously helping others, which would be perfect for you. And even what would you say to some of the people who, because no matter what the statistics say, there's going to be people, hey, especially a victim of a crime or a family member or lost somebody. It's like, listen, we don't care about stats. They should never get out. Never, never, never. And again, I think that's the backward looking. They're not thinking forward, and but I mean, I think you covered really everything. Unless you want to say anything else to, maybe there's still doubters out there. There always will be doubters.
Well,
Maybe what would you
I
say to
I
somebody like
do
that?
feel that's where we teach a victim impact to address um, how victims feel and the ripple effect of our actions.
Yeah.
It's not just the crime, and then there's the family, and then there's the neighborhood, and then there's the market,
Mm.
or the police, the people that
Yeah.
had to clean up the crime scene,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's people that don't even know
Yeah.
don't even know other inmates that have done horrible crimes,
Mm-hmm.
and they're affected.
Yeah.
They read it and they're horrified, and it pumps fear into them.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that, and that's what we teach.
Yeah.
That's what
That's
we
good.
teach. So when people parole, they are so aware of their surroundings and they're more sensitive to people.
Yeah.
They
Mm-hmm.
understand. They really do.
Yeah.
And, no, there's nothing I can do to turn the clock back. all I can do is try to help now.
Yeah.
And there are programs where they have the victims come in with a mediator and speak with the offender.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish they had more of the groups because that's healing for the victim.
Yeah, right, definitely.
Victims need to be heard too.
Mm-hmm.
They need to say their piece. If they want to come in and cuss you out or ask you your story, but they need to be heard for their healing as well.
Yeah.
So believe me, we do think of them and we're very compassionate for them
Yeah.
too.
Oh, for sure. And I know you're
You
very, yeah.
that's part of
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I know you're very cognizant about that because you don't do interviews. That you don't come out publicly. You've done a few things with me. I think we built trust up over the years, and I'm gonna take advantage of your kindness in any way. But you've always said you don't do things because of the victims, or you don't want to bring light in it. You want to bring them into it, or anything negative to have them feel a certain way. Like, hey, look at Dan, I'm doing this. You've always said from day one, it's about the victims. I mean, for the first couple times I've talked to you, that's always you. So concerned about the victims, you don't want to do anything publicly, just to bring any awareness. You don't put attention on yourself. You want to keep attention on where it should be, helping other people, changing yourself. And I think that's the most amazing thing about you is since I've known you, you've just been not just women's rights, but for change. For not just for yourself. I've known all the schooling that you've done and everything that I helped encourage you with, and let alone how many people you have encouraged. And I think that's great that you did. And I appreciate your time. So I think you're going to, this will be a help to a lot of people and get awareness and understanding. And I'll be posting links when I post this of other groups that they can go to. Obviously, for getting rid of abolishing life without parole, so people can go read and click a link to get way more information too and more statistics that help out. But no, I think this is very beneficial.
I'm going to call right back.
Okay.
It is beneficial. I'm going to get you one more time.
Okay.
I got one more thing to say.
Sure. Yeah.
So the story that I have is because I'm such a high profile case, many TV shows and crime shows, they contact me and they try to, oh, can you want to tell your story? Well, sure, I want to be heard too, but I'm not doing it on a crime show.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All sides, and they're out for money. It's a gold digger enterprise.
Oh yeah.
So one show contacted me, the Oprah Network, O2, that crime show, and when we had JPay tabs, they said, "Well, we want to hear your story. We've contacted your detective, Joseph Greco, my arresting detective." And I was so appalled because he had a contact with my dad after my crime. He's a really good detective. And he was very compassionate to the victims and very compassionate to my family, and I appreciate that. So I wrote him and I begged him, please do not do this crime show, because what you're doing is you're victimizing the victims. And he wrote me back and he said he has never, ever heard anybody say that.
Oh.
And from all the people he's arrested and, talked to, he never, ever had anybody say that.
Yeah.
And so we made an agreement, that's kept to this day. I won't do any crime shows and you don't do the interview, because we're not going to glorify this crime. We're not going to give it any more power. We're just going to nip it, because they're going to do their show anyway based on old stuff. But please don't feed anything new in it.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable doing this with you because I know you're not doing this to glorify crime or promote yourself. You're really giving people a voice. And I appreciate that. And I think other people do as well.
Oh, I appreciate
So it's a pretty cool story though, huh? And I kept in contact with him a while until we got the jail outlets.
Yeah.
And I talked with him about my background and a little bit about my crime.
Yeah.
And it was nice because I wanted him to know me.
Yeah.
When I met him, when he arrested me, the first time we met, I had a gun to my head. And we went from that all the way, a really great communication and agreement not to glorify crime. I mean, how rich is that?
I tell a story, and
Or what?
I even included a little portion of it in
I
one of my
wish
books.
that other police would talk to the people that they arrest if
Hmm.
they want to follow up.
Yeah. I tell people this
What?
story. I tell people this story, and I include a little snippet of this in one of my books. That I think it
So
was
that's my story.
a couple Mother's Days ago, where
You darn it.
when uh when people know that I talk to you and many other people, they're like, oh, I don't know, she's rehabilitated, and can somebody like that be rehabilitated? I mean, first, yes. I mean, there's not many people who alive that cannot be in one form or another, unless there's some serious mental illness. I tell a story that one of the Mother's
Right.
Days, that there was a kind of a nasty person there in your unit, starting with you, really getting in your face, really being very aggressive, very aggressive. Well, from your previous life, let's just say that you might have lashed out at the person. But you told me there wasn't an ounce of that in your body. You felt more compassion, and instead of doing anything negative to the person, you made her a handmade Mother's Day card. You gave it to her, and she just broke down. She started crying, and everything got along great. I think you guys made some Mexican food or danced to
Yeah.
Mexican music all night. But just to show, if any time there's going to be a time to where your past might come back up, it would have been that time. And what did you do? You showed kindness, you showed love, you showed compassion, and it showed that doing that even softened the person who was ready for a fight. You know, they're ready for some kind of either verbal altercation, maybe physical, but through your kindness and love, your first reaction was kindness and love, and then that deflated hers. Again, proving more that positive reinforcement works, but
Yeah.
also proving that in your growth over the years, you show kindness and compassion where if somebody really wasn't rehabilitated, it might have had a different ending. But I love that. It's one of my favorite stories to tell about you. It just shows. It just proves the fact that yes, what you say is true, and you've beyond. I mean, decades ago, but now just in current state, that not just from your background of telling people how to live a better life, but through you as an example, you're like a walking testimony, so to speak. And that's just one example that I can go on and on, so I think good things about you. But that's just one example that always caught my attention. That if there was ever going to be a time to, nope, no, that's the real Dana right there. No, the real Dana showed love, kindness, and compassion when confronted with a potentially a bad situation. Hmm.
She wanted to be heard too.
Yeah.
She's damaged.
Hmm.
And so what I did was I just went over to my corner and I painted cards for everybody in the room because they were all mothers.
Hmm.
And I'm not,
Yeah.
because I lost my babies.
Hmm.
Remember, I lost 2 babies right before my crime.
Hmm.
And that's why they put me in the Paxil.
Hmm.
So I recognized that pain in her and the other ladies who, maybe had killed their children.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and I made cards for everybody, but
Hmm.
especially her, and I handed it to her,
Hmm.
and she was blown away. And then we decided to make Mexican food. We played music and tried to make Mother's Day okay
Yeah. Hmm.
inside a box,
Yeah.
really. And it was really cool. It was very beautiful.
Yeah. It's good.
And even when I run into young people here, they want to get in my face because of my case.
Hmm.
And I'll
Hmm.
let them run their mouth. And then I'll stop and I'll say, come here, let's talk. Do you know why I was crabby?
Hmm.
Blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
This line was too long. And I'm trying to help and I'm trying to work with quality management. And
Yeah.
can I have your input? They
Hmm.
just want to be heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Hmm. That's
Everybody wants to be heard. They want to be acknowledged and they want to be treated like a human
yeah.
instead of a number. So I try to do that.
That's
If I
good.
want to be treated that way, then I try to pay that
Yep.
forward.
Hmm. And that's kind of that's one of the biggest reasons why I do, not just to promote positive reinforcement in facilities, but to give people a voice and a platform. Because if somebody just hears the word Dana Gray or maybe some other infamous person from the past, all they know is a documentary. All they know is a crime story. All they
Yeah,
know is, again, is the
right.
past. But they don't know you. They don't know what led up to it, what your past was, or who you are now. And so that's what I like to do. Again, that's why I'm not one of those, gotcha. What about this? I don't care. This is your platform. Now, if there's little wonkiness, I'm not going to just invite anybody on. I need somebody I trust and that I think has something to say, positive, of course. I mean, very few people talk. I mean, a few exceptions talk about the crime. And most aren't the rehabilitated type. They just want to talk. It's your platform. You can say what you want. 99% of the time, that's why it's called the lighter side. It is about positive things from authors I have on, or people in facilities, but it's about who they are as a person. Let the world know that most of the documentary and TV shows, they're focusing on the true crime aspect of life right now. It's so popular. They're capitalizing on the negative, negative, negative. Why don't you spend that money to talk about the positive? All right, or maybe the beginning of the show talk about
And
that. But
that's
how about the second half is
positive.
about how they're changed?
Right.
Definitely.
And I'm not going to talk about my crime. That's looky loo stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that
Yep.
because it re-victimizes the
Yeah.
victim.
Mm-hmm.
I might mention a few things
Mm-hmm.
or my background, but
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm not going to disrespect my victims. And
Yeah.
that's that.
Good. You should.
And
Mm-hmm.
people don't get that. They think, oh, don't you want to glorify, talk about it?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to do that. That's not who I am. And shame on you
Yeah.
for asking me such a dumb question. Shame on you. Why don't you look at yourself? And why do you need to know all that gruesome stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's a group for that.
Yeah.
That's what I
Yeah.
was telling people.
Yeah.
Hey, there's a group for that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Now, lastly,
So
is
I
anything else?
really, I really adore you.
Good. Now, lastly, anything
Anything
else that you
else?
want to say?
Um,
And what are your thoughts? What are the odds that you think that specifically in California, that one day life without parole will be abolished? And do you think the odds are pretty good for that to happen? The direction that California's heading?
well, the only way I'm going to believe that is if the governor opens his heart and looks at us
Hmm.
and looks at women
Hmm.
and starts with LWOPs and works his way down.
Hmm.
Right now, it seems like smaller crimes to the bigger crimes.
Yeah.
But why don't you start at the top with the people that have done the most time?
Hmm.
Really,
Definitely.
that would make a difference.
Hmm.
We're the ones that CDCR is supposed to be about.
Hmm.
So please look at us.
Hmm.
Look at your marginalized population. Be the maverick. Be
Yeah.
the maverick for women too.
Hmm.
And I think he would really be pleasantly surprised at those of us that have really worked hard. And it's not like, even if we were paroled tomorrow, it's not like we're just going to walk it on your street. We have to go to a program.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
We have to go to a program and integrate back.
Yeah.
Yes. And then we have blackout time where we can't even call anybody because we have to be concentrate on the fact that we are free.
Yeah.
We have to reintegrate into technology, find a job, continue with our rehabilitation groups out there like NA and AA or whatever
Okay.
we're interested in, and really be productive so that when we get out of the program, we're ready to go.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I don't think people understand that parole is just not walking out the door. We
Yeah.
might walk out the door and get to go to Olive Garden for lunch, but the next day we are got to be at that program or they'll reoffend us.
Oh,
We have
yeah.
a lot of restrictions on us.
Hmm.
And for lifers, if we screw up, we don't just come back with a violation. We come back with that life sentence. So
Wow.
people don't understand that.
Wow. Yeah. Hmm.
We have a lot of pressure on us. So believe us, we're going to walk the line, and we will walk the line. Um, Governor Newsom, will you please open your eyes and look at prisoners from the top down,
Yeah.
those of us that have done the most time? And please, can you look at, please,
Hmm.
please open your heart.
Well, there you have it. A conversation with Dana Gray. I hope that got you thinking. Again, one of the reasons I do what I do is, I get comments all the time. I love how people do on social media. They'll block me and then they'll say something negative, like post a picture of me. Somebody did that earlier today, actually. So I couldn't even comment. He's like, words to the effect that, hey, I talk about the victims and look at this guy. Serial killers call the show. If somebody takes at least 30 seconds to look into what I do. They see what I do is for victims and future potential victims. One, getting to know how violent offenders think, what works in rehabilitation. I'm all about rehabilitation, positive reinforcements. That's why I have people call the show, as we heard from Dana, what has worked for you? So we can encourage others who has friends and family members in a prison facility. Or call the prisons, hey, warden so and so, can you have this program here or that program here? We heard it really worked for this person. So I know I get heat all the time for what I do. I get it. But what I do is for the victims. I'm not glorifying anybody and their crimes. I get into them on a personal level. One, because documentaries just make them out to be the boogeyman. There's some things that happened 20 years ago. Or longer sometimes, but not really get to know the person that they might have changed and how they can inspire other people if they truly change their life around. So before you bash me, do some research. So you don't look like a complete douche nozzle out there, and have the balls not to block me if you want to say something negative. How about having a conversation? Our country's so divided right now. The left wing, right? When nobody's talking, everybody's having such a hard statement. They refuse to have dialogue. Rather just block somebody and move on. So anyway, I hope this got you thinking. It's a serious thing. Life without parole. You can hear both sides of the coin. So if you have an opinion on that, please comment below. Like, share, subscribe. I know, again, it's like a hot button topic. From is it immoral? Is it inhumane? Well, the other argument is, well, what did you do to the victims? Well, they killed 3 people, they killed 8 people, they killed 10 people. Is it inhumane not to put somebody like that to death? Not them the punishment alone, not to let them out back in society. But we heard from Dana Gray, punish will deter others. Her own self said it's not a deterrent. It's the last thing we're thinking of. We're in the middle of a crime and we're killing somebody in a violent offense. My side, I do think it's inhumane. I think everybody outside of like a mental illness or some brain abnormality, like a pure psychopathy and psychotic and schizophrenia, everybody's rehabilitatable. Get them out of that environment that they were in. Everybody's rehabilitatable. I mean, that's my stance. You might have a different opinion, which is fine. That's just my platform. So I'd love to hear from you. Comment, share the podcast, comment below. Try to respond to all the nice comments anyway. Even other ones. You have a dialogue, I'll certainly have an honest dialogue with you. But I hope you enjoyed that. We got much more to come. And until next time, see ya.